Hey, I'm Jake. I'm 23. I live just outside Denver, Colorado. I work part-time at a tech repair shop and study graphic design online. Nothing fancy. I keep to myself, hang out with a few close friends, and try not to make life more complicated than it needs to be. At least that was the plan until this one night flipped everything. It started with a text from my best friend Nick. We've known each other since freshman year of high school. Same track team, same taste in movies, same low tolerance for drama. His message just said, "Yo, parents split. Dad moved out. Mom's a mess. Come through." No emojis, no extra words. Classic Nick. So I drove over. I'd been to their place 100 times, but that night the house felt different, weirder. Dim lights, no football game on the TV. The tension hit me the second I stepped in. Nick barely looked up from the couch when I walked in. "Hey," he said. He looked exhausted, pale. "She's in the kitchen." I nodded and went in. And there she was, Rachel, Mrs. Hartley, Nick's mom. I've known her for years, but this was the first time I saw her, not as someone's mom, but as a woman. A real striking woman. She stood at the sink drying a wine glass, wearing a simple white shirt and jeans barefoot. Her hair was loose, her makeup subtle. She looked lighter. I don't know, free or maybe just raw. I couldn't read it. She turned, smiled. "Jake, hi." Her voice was soft but clear. Not shaky, not sad, just calm. "Thanks for coming. Nick's been quiet since his dad left." "Of course," I said. I figured he could use company. She stepped closer. So could I. I chuckled nervously, unsure if she meant it the way it sounded. "Well, I'm here." "I know." She looked at me for a beat longer than she probably should have, then back to the glass in her hands. "Want some tea or something?" "No, I'm good." She leaned on the counter facing me now. "You're always so polite, Jake, and quiet. But I bet there's more going on in that head of yours." I smiled awkwardly. "Maybe." She laughed. "Maybe. You always say that." Did I? Before I could respond, Nick called from the living room. "Yo, you coming to play, or what?" I nodded toward her, almost an apology. "Duty calls." She smiled again, but it lingered this time. "Nice seeing you, Jake." "You too." I walked out, heart beating a bit faster. Maybe because the situation felt weird. Maybe because she smelled like vanilla and something I couldn't name. Or maybe because that was the first time she'd ever called me by just my name. No sweetie, no honey, none of the usual mom stuff. That night we played video games for an hour or two. Nick didn't talk much and I didn't push. We were halfway through a race when he suddenly paused. The game turned to me and said, "Hey man, real quick, just don't be weird around my mom." "Okay," I blinked. "What?" He shrugged. "I don't know, she's been acting different since the split. Flirty, kind of. I've seen it with the grocer, the neighbor, even my uncle. Just don't feed into it, bro." I laughed, trying to play it off. "Dude, it's me." Exactly. I wanted to say something smart, but I just sat there, the words spinning in my head. "Don't be weird around my mom." But the truth, I wasn't being weird. She was first. 2 days later, I came by again. Nick texted me, "Come through, got pizza." Same house, same couch, same tension. Except this time, Mrs. Hartley opened the door. She smiled the second she saw me. Not just a polite smile, something warmer. Her eyes lit up. She was in a fitted navy blouse and jeans, hair tied loosely back. Honestly, she didn't look like a woman who had just ended a 20-year marriage. She looked better than ever. "Hi again," she said, stepping aside. "Twice in 1 week. I'm honored." "Nick invited me," I said, keeping it casual. "Of course he did," she replied and closed the door slowly behind me. I walked in, but she lingered behind me, and I could feel her eyes on my back. Nick was in the kitchen, opening the pizza box, already chewing. "Took you long enough," he said, mouthful. I joined him at the counter, grabbed a slice. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Mrs. Hartley walked in, poured herself a glass of red wine, and leaned on the counter across from us. Her eyes were on me more than her son. "You boys doing anything tonight?" she asked. Nick shrugged. "Probably just movies or games." She turned her gaze back to me. "You always did like staying late, Jake." Nick looked at her, then at me. "Mom, what?" she replied, feigning innocence. "I'm just saying, he was always the polite one, respectful." "Sweet." Nick rolled his eyes. "Yeah, okay." Mrs. Hartley chuckled and left the room. I stayed frozen for a second. Nick narrowed his eyes. You see what I mean? I didn't answer. We played some co-op shooter game after that, the usual. But I couldn't focus. My ears were on every footstep outside the room, every shift in the hallway. And sure enough, halfway through the match, the door creaked open slightly. She didn't step in. She just leaned on the frame and watched for a second. Then she said, Jake, when you get a sec, can I show you something in the laundry room? Nick sighed loudly. He's not your handyman, Mom. It'll take 1 minute, she smiled sweetly. Just need a second opinion. Nick paused the game. Go before she makes it weird. Too late, I thought. I followed her into the hallway and down to the small laundry room. She closed the door behind us. It was quiet, tight, and too warm. She stood by the dryer. I just needed to talk, she said. I raised an eyebrow. About what? She stepped closer. I just needed to talk to someone who doesn't see me as a broken woman, who doesn't judge me for being divorced, someone who listens. I nodded slowly. I can do that. She looked up at me, her eyes soft but searching. You're sweet, Jake. Always have been. Then she did something that made me forget how to breathe. She reached out and touched my wrist just lightly, but her fingers stayed there. I'm not trying to be inappropriate, she said, but I can tell you feel it too. I pulled my hand back gently. Mrs. Hartley. Rachel, she interrupted. I cleared my throat. Nick's my best friend. She nodded. And I respect that. I do. I won't cross any lines. Unless you do. My heart was pounding. She stepped back as if giving me space, then turned and opened the laundry door like nothing happened. Thanks for checking the machine, she said loudly for Nick to hear. I returned to the living room, silent, flushed. Nick looked at me. You good? Yeah, I said too fast. Just lint trap was full. He squinted. Sure. We finished the night like normal, but it wasn't normal. Not anymore. Something had shifted. And the next day I got a message from her, Rachel Hartley. Thank you for listening. You have no idea how much that meant. Let's talk again sometime privately. My stomach turned and my heart raced. I didn't reply. At least not right away, but I didn't delete it either. I waited 3 days before replying to her message. I told myself I was just being respectful, careful, smart, but if I'm honest, I read her text about 20 times. And every time I felt something, I couldn't explain a pull, maybe like I was standing at the edge of something I shouldn't touch but wanted to. In the end, I sent just one line, hope you're doing okay. She replied instantly, come by tomorrow around 6 to her room, just us, I'll cook. I stared at the screen for a long minute, then typed, what about Nick? He's working a double shift. Don't worry, just dinner. I showed up at 6:07, not on purpose. I sat in my car for 5 minutes debating whether to knock. She opened the door before I could. She looked stunning, tight black jeans, soft beige sweater, hair up barefoot again. The house smelled like garlic and wine. Her smile wasn't playful this time. It was steady, warm, sure of itself. Right on time, she said. 7 minutes late, I replied. She shrugged. I wasn't counting. I stepped in. No sign of Nick. Obviously. The house was spotless. Jazz music played low from the speakers. She led me into the kitchen where the table was already set for two, steak roasted potatoes, a bottle of red breathing beside 2 glasses. You didn't have to do all this, I said. I wanted to, she replied. We ate, we talked. It was easy, like two people who'd known each other for years, which we had, but now without the wall of formality. She didn't talk about the divorce much, but it hovered in the air like a shadow. She sipped wine, slowly told me stories from when Nick was a kid. I told her about work, about college. She laughed more than I'd ever seen her laugh. Not loud, just that subtle kind of laugh where the eyes crinkle a little and the corner of her mouth rises slowly, like she forgot she was allowed to enjoy herself. At one point, she stood to clear the dishes, and I went to help instinctively. We ended up at the sink side by side. She looked at me, hand in the water, and said, You're different, Jake. I smiled. You've said that before. I mean it. Her voice was quiet now. I don't usually invite people over like this, especially not, she trailed off. Not what, She dried her hands and turned to face me fully. Not guys your age. I felt the room tilt slightly, not from wine. From the way she looked at me. I just got out of a marriage, she said. That am I marrying? I said, I'm not looking for anything serious, but I'm not pretending I don't feel what I feel either. I swallowed hard. What do you feel? She stepped a little closer. Curious, excited, nervous. She laughed softly, maybe a little reckless. I didn't say anything. She took another step now, only inches from me. Her eyes searched mine. Tell me to stop, and I will, she said. I didn't. Instead, I said the only thing that made sense in that moment. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I, she whispered. And then she kissed me. It wasn't wild. It wasn't desperate. It was soft, slow, deliberate, like she'd thought about it before. Like she knew exactly how it would feel and wanted to make sure I did too. When we finally pulled back, the room was silent, just the music barely audible now. She looked down. I shouldn't have done that. I shook my head. I let it happen. She took a breath and said something that stayed with me for years after. You're not a mistake, Jake. I just don't know what you are yet. I didn't sleep with her that night. I left after another glass of wine and a longer hug than necessary. But something had changed. We both knew it. As I walked to my car, she stood at the door watching. No words, just her silhouette in the porch light, arms crossed, hair blowing slightly in the breeze. I sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes before driving off. And by the time I got home, she had already texted. Let's not pretend this didn't happen, but let's not tell anyone it did. I stared at the message, then typed, deal. The next couple of weeks felt like walking a tightrope, balancing between what was happening and what we were pretending wasn't. On the surface, nothing changed. I still hung out with Nick, still came over for game nights, still sat on the same couch like I hadn't kissed his mother in the kitchen, while Sinatra played in the background. But under the surface, everything was different. Rachel started texting me more often, not daily, but enough to remind me she hadn't forgotten. The texts were never graphic or flirty. They were subtle, coded, hope today wasn't too boring. You looked tired earlier, getting enough sleep. Thanks for being kind when no one else noticed I needed it. I responded carefully. I knew we were dancing on a line, but I also knew I wasn't the one leading. One night, Nick and I were hanging out in his room playing some old-school basketball game. He paused between quarters, looked at me without warning, and said, So, my mom's been weird. My heart stuttered. Weird how? I don't know, he said, tossing the controller aside. She's smiling more, playing music, cleaning up in real clothes instead of robes. I even caught her humming the other day. I forced a chuckle. Sounds like she's just in a better mood. Yeah, but why? Nick said. Dad left like a month ago. It's not like she's dating someone already. I didn't answer. I couldn't. He stared at me for a moment, squinting slightly. And you've been weird too. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? He shrugged. You keep dodging her eyes when she walks into the room. And I saw you stand up the second she sat down next to you on the couch last week, like she was radioactive. I was just being polite, I said too quickly. Nick kept staring, then finally let out a long breath. Whatever. Just don't get caught in a rebound spiral, man. You don't want to be part of that storm. I said nothing, just picked the controller back up and pressed resume. That weekend, she texted me again. He suspects something, be careful. I replied, are you sure this is a good idea? Her answer came fast. No, but I don't want to stop. The next time we were alone, it wasn't planned. Nick had to work a late shift at the store. I dropped by to pick up a charger and I'd left. She opened the door already knowing who it was. She didn't even pretend to be surprised. She wore a long cardigan over a simple tank top and leggings. Her hair was damp like she'd just gotten out of the shower. I froze when I saw her. She didn't. Come in, she said, stepping aside. I hesitated. Rachel, you're here, that's enough. We sat on the couch. She poured wine. I refused it. She smiled like she knew what I was doing, resisting the obvious. Then she said something I didn't expect. I've been with one man my entire adult life, 20 years. I married young. I gave up my name, my plans, my 20s, everything for a man who forgot how to look at me. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't water. She wasn't looking for sympathy. She was just telling the truth. And then you looked at me, she said, and I felt seen again. I didn't have a good reply, so I didn't give one. She leaned closer. We're not hurting anyone. We're not even breaking anything. We're just letting something happen that wants to happen. That night, we crossed the line completely. I'm not going to paint it as something it wasn't. It was intimate, confusing, intense, and reckless. But it didn't feel wrong. It felt overdue. The next morning, I left early. Nick was still asleep. Rachel stood at the door, her fingers grazing mine just for a second before I stepped outside. Be smart, she whispered, but don't pull away now. I didn't. From there, it became a pattern, a routine. I came by when Nick wasn't home. She texted me when she knew the coast was clear. I started finding reasons to swing by unannounced, dropping off a book and asking to borrow something, returning a charger I didn't need. Once we nearly got caught, I was in the kitchen with her leaning against the counter, her hand on my chest when we heard the front door open. We jumped apart like kids caught stealing candy. I grabbed a bottle of water and sat at the table like I'd just walked in. She pulled her hair into a messy bun and started wiping the already clean counter. Nick walked in, nodded at me. Didn't know you were here. I shrugged. Just got here. He didn't question it. But later as I left, I caught him watching us, his eyes moving between me and his mom like he was trying to connect invisible dots. He never asked, and I never confessed. Our secret stretched on like a tight rubber band, not broken yet, but always under pressure. Weeks turned into months. Then 1 month turned into 3, then 6. And before I knew it, we were passing the 1-year mark. 2 years. That's how long it lasted. This secret world we built inside someone else's home. 2 years of silent glances across rooms of moments that lasted longer than they should have, but still felt too short of hands brushing, when no one was looking. Hearts racing when a text came through and long stolen weekends that didn't exist for anyone else but us. 2 years of pretending to be nothing while meaning everything. We thought we could handle it. We thought we could keep it separate, the feelings from the reality, the thrill from the consequences. And for a while we did. But nothing that intense stays still forever. By the time the 2nd year rolled around, things began to shift. It wasn't dramatic or sudden, just a slow, almost imperceptible unraveling. Her texts started coming less often, not because she didn't care, but because she was trying to step back without saying it out loud. She would still touch my arm when I passed her in the hallway, still smile when no one else noticed. But her eyes had started to look somewhere else, and honestly, so had mine. We never talked about what we were. That was the rule, no labels, no promises, just presence time, a strange, quiet kind of closeness that existed only between us. But one morning, a calm gray Sunday in early spring, the moment finally came. I was at their house waiting for Nick to get ready so we could go to a Nuggets game. I was sitting out back on the patio, sipping orange juice, phone in my hand, scrolling through nothing. Rachel came out with 2 mugs of coffee, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked like peace, and maybe that's why what she said next hit harder than it should have. She sat across from me, handed me a cup, and said, I met someone. Just like that. No hesitation, no apology, just the truth, simple, plain. I blinked. Okay. She smiled. Not a teasing smile, not one of those looks she used to give me when we were alone. This one was, I'm all careful, nervous. You're not going to ask who, she said. I shook my head. You'll tell me if you want to. She looked down at the coffee, took a breath. His name's Mark. He's 45, divorced, works in commercial real estate. No kids. We met through one of the women at work. I nodded. Is he good to you? He is. She paused, tracing the rim of her mug with her finger. It's not serious, but I want it to be. Or at least I'm letting it become something. I sipped my coffee, not because I wanted it, but because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. I didn't plan to keep you this long, she said after a while. I thought it would be short. A few weeks, a few quiet moments with someone who looked at me like I wasn't broken, but you stayed and I let you. And then I didn't want you to leave. I looked at her, but I didn't say anything. I was sorting through the knot in my chest. Not grief, not jealousy, something else. I don't regret any of it, she said, voice steady. I just can't live in hiding anymore. Not from him, not from myself. And I understood. I really did. I never felt used, I finally said. Not once. You mattered to me. This mattered. She nodded, eyes soft. I'm glad it was you. We sat there quietly watching the breeze ripple through the trees. The sun started pushing through the clouds. Slowly, everything around us was waking up, moving on. Then she stood. I'm going to pull back now. Slowly. I have to try to be whole again. I stood too. I know. She reached out and touched my shoulder just barely. A silent goodbye. I'll always care about you, she said. I'll always remember this, I said. And we both meant it. After that morning, the rules changed. No more late texts. No more kitchen chats when Nick wasn't home. No more just dropping by. She faded from my daily life like a sunset. You don't notice until the sky is already dark, and I let her. A month later, I came to Nick's birthday. Mark was there. He shook my hand with a firm, polite grip. He had calm eyes. Rachel introduced him as a friend, but the way she looked at him said more. She laughed at his jokes. She leaned in when he talked. I recognized that version of her because I'd seen it before. I'd been that person, and I didn't feel bitter. I felt something closer to peace. Nick never found out. At least, I don't think he did. Maybe deep down he suspected something, but if so, he chose not to confront it. And I chose never to give him a reason to. Time passed. I finished school, got a full-time job at a small design agency, moved into a modest apartment on the other side of town, started dating again, real open out in the light relationships. Some worked, most didn't, but none of them ever felt quite like what I had with her. That wasn't love exactly, but it was real. And when I drive through that neighborhood or hear a certain jazz melody playing in a cafe or catch the smell of vanilla from someone walking by, I remember not with regret, not with longing, but with a quiet warmth that comes only from a chapter you didn't expect to live through, but are grateful you did. She was the first woman who ever truly saw me, and for a little while I saw her too. Jake and Rachel's story offers a deeply moving lesson about the fleeting transformative power of human connection and the courage to let go when the moment demands it. Their secret bond, born from Rachel's need to be seen after a painful divorce, teaches us that sometimes the most meaningful relationships defy labels and exist purely to heal and awaken us. Jake's choice to engage, yet remain respectful of boundaries, and Rachel's eventual decision to move forward with a new life remind us that true connection isn't about possession, it's about presence, about giving someone the space to rediscover themselves. This story urges us to embrace the unexpected moments that spark growth even when they come with risks, and to release them gracefully when they have served their purpose. It's a call to live authentically, to cherish the quiet, reckless beauty of being truly seen, and to carry those memories with gratitude, not regret. Jake and Rachel's journey shows that life's richest chapters often unfold in the shadows, teaching us to value what's real over what's expected. What stirred your heart in Jake and Rachel's story? Have you ever experienced a connection that changed you even briefly? Share your thoughts in the comments. We're eager to hear your stories. If this touched you, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join our community of soulful narratives. Let's keep uncovering life's profound lessons together.